Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me what would I do if Evecos were to shut down. And I mean, the answer to that is actually very simple. I will go play EVE Online. And speaking of EVE Online, one of my friends has recently got me back into the game, and now we are enjoying both EVE Echoes and EVE Online. I basically play both games side by side, and well, luckily I still have some of my old rusty ships. Here I have the Belicose, and well, I think I'll start with something very simple today. At the moment, I am missing a lot of modules. Now let's take a look at the ship trait description. The Belicose is a tier 1 Minmatar cruiser, a very rusty Minmatar cruiser. The rust is actually weight reduction, and that explains why these ships are so fast. Minmatar cruiser bonus per skill level will give you 5% bonus to rapid light missile, heavy missile, and heavy assault missile launcher rate of fire, 7.5% bonus to target painter effectiveness, 7.5% bonus to heavy missile and heavy assault missile explosion velocity. Overall, the missile damage application in this game is really good, and each missile has its own skill, and overall I think I should have decent skills for these weapons. Overall, a very solid and straightforward trait description for this ship. Here you can take a look at the story behind the ship. Structure hit points 1800, 315 is the cargo hold, drone bay 50, drone bandwidth 50 megabits per second, mass 11 million kilograms, volume is 10,000, inertia modifier is 0.407. The Bellicose can be a armor or shield tank. I personally like to make a speed tank with target painters, a kite long range ship, although with the light missile launchers you can orbit a little bit closer. The heavy assault missiles are good for the big boats, cruisers, battlecruisers and above, while the light missile launchers can be used for frigates, can also be used for cruisers and battlecruisers, but they yeet frigates the best. And overall I'm quite satisfied with the stats on this boat. Again, the rust is weight reduction, so the Bellicose will be very quick. The Bellicose has 4 high slots, 5 medium, 4 low, and 3 engineering rig slots. Well, 3 rig slots in general, they're not separated by combat and engineering rigs. Every ship has 3 slots, and they combine both combat and engineering functions. And here I have some rigs installed that I have for a couple of years now. Here are the requirements, the skills that you require for the ship. I do fulfill all of them at the moment. And well, we have the different variations. The Hugin will be my long-term goal. And we have the Rapier as well. Both are fantastic little boats. The Hugin has a very nasty bonus on webs, and I really am interested in flying this thing. So one of my goals is this one, which is a tier 2 ship, a tech 2 ship, not tier 2 ship. And again, will be very fun to fly this beautiful looking ship. I love the whole design in this game. And there is the Rapier, which is a cover tops, a cloaky boat that is also very nice and will probably be one of my goals as well. Basically, I'm aiming for several ships at the moment. One of them is, well, I think I will save that for later when I actually get the ship for a surprise. But these 2 ships are one of my goals at the moment. So let's take a look at the fitting window, and I have removed all the previous modules that I had equipped so that I can show you the idea behind the ship. So since I'm a little bit short on modules, the current Bellicose build will be a little bit ghetto because I don't have the Tech 2 launchers. I have Tech 2 turrets for my projectile turret cruisers, but for missiles I don't have them at the moment, but we'll work on that. So I think I'll do the the light missile launcher first. Okay, and here you can basically take a look at the description to see what the missile is used for. So this is for cruisers intended for fast frigates. Now again, the missiles in this game have good application. They perform much better than they perform in Evacos, although in Evacos you also have some ships that have nasty missile performance, and in this case the light missile launchers would be the rapid missile launchers in Eve Echoes. But of course, I really prefer and I really like the module naming scheme in this game. The naming in this game is much better than the module naming in Eve Echoes. So have the launchers equipped, and we'll have some. Yeah, I have some missiles. I have some faction missiles from somewhere. But you don't have to use the faction missiles. The standard missiles are also very nice. And the DPS in this game will be much lower than the DPS in Evacos. In Evacos everything is a little bit too much if you ask me, but in this game it seems to be normal. Okay, now I have a bunch of other modules. In the minion slots I will probably add the dual target painters. Now, my goal with the ship is to make something that can run missions, that can run anomalies, and things like that. For PvP, I would definitely change the rigs. I need, I guess, a lot more tank if I want to go with PvP or tank, or basically speed tank, or perhaps I'll just go with full-on DPS. There is a lot of ways on how to build your ship, and I'll try to replicate some of the builds that I used to have, although the game did change a little bit, and I think the way how you fit the ship is also changed in some ways. Alright, injector, so it reduces cargo hold but increases speed. I'll definitely add this one. I have a bunch of ballistic controls and a missile guidance computer, basically to increase the missile damage and range as well as damage application. Now I have the nanofiber here, but I didn't equip it because it does reduce hull. So since I am still rusty, very rusty, I'm as rusty at this ship, I prefer to have the hull intact, although the override injector or the nanofiber both have different trade-offs, and I guess both will give your ship extra speed. But for now, I'll just use the override injector to reduce the cargo hold but to increase the speed. Okay, and in the medium, actually in the low slots, hold a second, in this game it's actually a medium slot. Oh, okay, so I can add some of these items, these modules that will further improve the missile performance. I think I'll save. Actually, there's no saving, a very cheap module, so I can just yeet that inside of this Ghetto built Belicose. In the car hold, I have dual target painters. I like to have two of them because that's how I used to fly this ship. I have a large extender that will be used on this boat as well. 5 low slots, 5 medium slots basically means that I can even use a scrambler or disruptor, a web. For PvP, I'll definitely be using scramblers and webs and perhaps one target painter. The other 2 slots will be with a extender and perhaps a adaptive invulnerability field. Now in this game we have invulnerability fields for specific damage types, although I would probably use the multi-phase one just to have resistance on all damage types, but again there is a million ways on how to build this boat. Now for missions for PvE or anomalies and things like that, I think I'll go with a afterburner, monopropellant afterburner, although you can basically pick any other variation that you have. This is the Ghetto build after all, so I'll use what I have in the station, although as time goes on, as I obtain more items and more risk, the builds will definitely be drastically changed, and well, more drastically changed in terms of how much it costs, and I'll also change some of the modules and how the overall ship works. So the large extender, I have enough power to fit the Tech 2 one, but you know, let's say ISK is a problem, and since I don't want to make this thing expensive in any way, shape or form, I'll just use the one that I already have. You have several variations of the extenders, and again, any extender that you slap is going to be interesting. The faction one is definitely going to be saved for a faction ship, not going to use a faction extender for a Bellicose, that's for sure. And let me add the extender. It will increase the shield to 3960 hit points, which, you know, it's not bad. A lot of buffer for defense. Although if you go full buffer, I would also prefer to have some resistance. So that's where the multi-spectrum, not multi-phase, invulnerability field will kick in. And again, you have a lot of options for tank. And when I have more ISK, I'll definitely show you a lot of different things that you can do. 9 minutes and 49 seconds is the capacitor runtime, although I already did try a build like this out and it was capacitor stable, so the capacitor is not going to be a problem. 27, 41, 56, 56, yeah, and 64%. Now, since this is a kite, I don't really expect to take a lot of damage, and I do plan to use this as a speed tank. So the resistance isn't really that important as much as speed is and range. The Bellicose can be a good support ship in PvP. It can also do PvP on its own. The only thing that I'm debating for PvP, whether to use light missile launchers or to use the heavy assault missile launchers or the heavy missiles, because I believe that the heavy missiles will not do much to frigates. And since I don't plan to be food for a random wolf or for a random rifter, I think in my case here I'll probably go with the light missile launchers, but we will see. Perhaps I will change my mind. And one thing that I did miss is the simulate fit option. That is something that Echoes really needs, because in Echoes I have to basically undock and turn on all the modules just to show you the stats. Over here I can just do it from the station. Okay, so let me quickly pull back the light missiles, and let me add the heavy assault ones, or the heavy missiles. The heavy assault missiles have a much shorter range, but a much more high rate of fire, while these missiles have decent capacity, but a slower rate of fire. And they are intended to be used cruiser versus cruiser, or basically above, so not really suitable for smaller boats. Now, there are some ships that probably can yeet frigates with the heavy assault missiles, or the heavy missiles, and I have some plans for that as well. So I have some, let's say I just have something ridiculous right about on the start when I start to play this game again. So I'm quite excited for that. It will be a surprise. This time I'm not going to spoil anything. Okay, now let me return those missiles back in the cargo. Now, what missile you should use, it depends on the target. Some targets have hull on EM, some on thermal, some have hulls on explosive, kinetic, and basically you need to know the target that you're engaging. You have to basically predict what type of build they have, and in some cases you have to replace the ammo so that you do hit the target on the lowest possible resistance to do maximum possible damage. And my apologies for my PC's potato performance. Actually, I record this after recording the whole thing. My PC kind of died. Let's say the CPU did suck a bit more power, and let's say that one of the cables has burned. Let's just keep it at that, but it will hopefully be fixed, because I really want to play this game. So, these are the heavy assault missiles. Yeah, I have a bunch of them here. Again, a pretty ghetto fit with probably one of the cheapest modules in the game. Now the missiles are different. The heavy assault missiles and heavy missiles are two different type of missiles. And now the range will be a little bit lower, but the DPS did go up, and 14 kilometer is the maximum range. So if I plan to go close range, then dual webs, a scrambler, extender, and a build like that might be interesting with the heavy assault missiles, but only for cruisers and probably battle cruisers and things like that. Against frigates, light missiles. And I think I can also use the light missiles against everything. The DPS will just be different, and the light missiles have a much lower missile capacity. When the missile is fully loaded, it has like 19 missiles, which does get depleted very quickly, and the reload is 35 seconds, while the reload on the normal heavy assaults or heavy missiles is about 10 seconds. Also a big difference between the missile types. The long reload might actually be a problem, because you do deplete all the missiles in the missile launcher in combat very quickly, and that's one of the issues that I have encountered. I have a bunch of drones, bunch of light drones. I should replace them into medium drones, although light drones are good to be launched at small boats, while the medium ones can also be used against small boats, but I will probably use them against the big ones, or well, not big ones, but larger than a frigate, at least. And well, the build is somewhat complete. Dual painters. Now this is also a build that I imagine, although I don't really like it, because I have low resistances, and I guess for a PvP fit in this game, tank is a bit more important, although depends on if you are close or long range. If you're long range, then I guess you don't really need tank, but if you're close range, then tank is preferred. I did keep the extender. I have one painter, dual propulsion build, one scrambler, a damage control, which is also a passive module. It gives decent boost on armor and shield, and a 60% resistance buff on the hull. Again, this is a passive module. It is not the assault damage control that is used on the assault ships. Okay, well, let me see what I also have here. I have some heavy assault missiles, but in most cases, for the Bellicose, I think I will go with light missiles. With time, I'll definitely play around with all of the different types of missile launcher to see what I like the most. And well, there is a disruptor, 22 kilometer point range. This game doesn't have ships with million stabs, so you can use one point and other modules combined with the point for PvP. You will encounter some stab ships, but there's not going to be ships with 50 stabs, for example. I think that doesn't exist. Maybe there is something, I don't know, who knows. But I don't believe that we have ships with a million stabs in this game. Now I'm thinking about what else I can do with this boat. Let me just double check webs. Okay, now the webs have a shorter range here. I think it's about 10 kilometers. And when I start flying the Hugin, well, the webs, the faction webs, I think, will have about 60 kilometer range. And the Hugin is one of the more interesting ships because of that extreme long range web. And it should be excellent for piracy, should be good for PvP. And I think that ship doesn't show on the D-scan, which, makes it very, very sneaky. Ships in this game are so unique, and I really love that fact. Wish that Echoes was similar to the ships that we have here. Now, a micro warp drift. How smart is to use a micro warp drift? Well, actually, I think I can use the micro warp drift for a kite PvP build or something along those lines. But again, for that I will have to change the rigs, and I will probably have to add some capacitor batteries to improve the capacitor runtime. And of course, I would probably try to keep the ballistic controls because I do really like the DPS, and I believe when I swap to the Tech 2, or let's call them Tech 2, I think they're actually called Tech 2 or Tier 2. If I say Tier 2, it might be, well, the Tech 2 weapons would probably have much more DPS, and if I combine that with the... I think if I combine that with the other Tier 2 modules, I might actually get some pretty decent DPS out of this boat. But for a Ghetto build, it's actually... I'm quite happy with that. Basically, most of these modules are from missions, from looting, and very few are actually bought from the market. Because, well, let's say ISK is a little bit short. That's what happens when you don't play the game for 5 years. Or along those lines, I don't know. But that will be fixed very soon. This is basically just me coming back to this game after a long pause. And honestly, I have to say, I do miss playing this game. I remember having a lot of fun, and when I did go back again, I don't know, it felt so so fresh. The game changed a lot, and in a good way actually. But let's go and let's run some missions. Now here I have the heavy assault missiles because I just wanted to see how much damage they can apply to the low tier mission, to this low tier mission here, to this low tier mission encounter. The light missile launchers would eat those frigates alive, basically one hit. Although the damage is still not bad. The target painters do increase the signature of these boats. And I also have drones that I can launch. Okay. Good fact, good thing about ships in this game, they have a lot of drones. Basically all ships have 5 drones. I can control 5, which is fine. After all, this is a missile boat. Now the afterburner, I guess for missions, the afterburner is okay, although I can see the micro-objective being used as well. The micro-objective, if you have a very long-range orbit and if you have a stable capacitor, but for a stable capacitor, again, I'll have to change the modules. Basically, I have to give the ship a capacitor battery, or multiple capacitor batteries, and perhaps even some of the other capacitor modules that you can fit in the low and medium slots. But an afterburner for speed tanking I think should be okay. For a proper kite build, I would probably orbit at about 50 kilometers. That way I am not going to be taking any damage. The whole point of kite is not to take damage while orbiting the target, but I guess okay. The passive shield regeneration can also be vastly improved. You have the shield relays that improve the shield recharge, but they also reduce the capacitor recharge. Basically they divert power from the capacitor to the shield, and you can create some very good passive tanks. Basically the lower your shield is, the faster it charges itself up, and I think the fastest charging is achieved at about 20-25%. That's when the passive regeneration is the highest. Also, one of the ways how to fly these boats, you can also use the shield boosters, the classic booster and the booster that uses the capacitor batteries, or the fuel, the capacitor batteries, I think that's what they're called in this game. Ancillary shield booster, I believe that's what they were called. Again, there's so many different ways how to build the ship, and I will explore all of them. I think I have to shoot some structures here, because I remember that they will not spawn until you destroy something, and I believe I have to destroy some of these. Well, actually, where are they? I don't see them on the grid here. Although with the afterburner here, with my Ghetto build, the ship is capacitor stable, and I value capacitor stability a lot. I always value that because I feel very uncomfortable when my capacitor is unstable or when it's low. but with an afterburner, I don't really have that issue. Yeah, I have to shoot some structures. It will take a while for me to actually. Well, it will not take me too long to find them. I'll figure it out in a couple moments here, but for a other different type of PvE build, let's say close range, then you can go with a normal booster or ancillary booster. Although the Bellicose is designed for long range combat, and since the Bellicose is designed for long range combat, I'll definitely take full advantage of its range. The optimal range on the target painters is about 30 kilometers. They can reach up to 108 kilometers. So the target painting effect will be there for a very long time, unless you get too close, then the effect will go down as expected. A very cheap little robust boat. Now here I'm reading the mission, just making sure that I didn't forget anything. And of course, as always, I have to loot the wrecks, because every little bit of loot is worth. You know, as an alpha clone, every little bit of loot matters. Sometimes, actually, for our case here, quite often we do get some very nice stuff. And you can make some good ISK in high sec if you are running anomalies and encounters that you can scan, or even exploration in high sec is pretty fun. I also did some of that, which will be uploaded in the next couple hours, couple days, depends on when I sit down and edit the video. But there are all very attractive things about this game that I really do enjoy, and in the next couple days, as you will see, ISK generation will not be a big problem. This is just, as any start, a rough start, or a second start, because technically this is not the first time I play this, but last time I did was long ago. Well, let me just wreck those residence buildings. I know that sounds bad. It's a game, so yeah. Let's destroy those pirate residence buildings or structures or whatever they're called. Okay, and the beautiful explosions. Now I played this game on, I think, maximum settings while recording, and I know recently they have improved the nebulas, they have improved the graphics, they have improved everything basically. And I can see the difference. The game is very pretty and very gorgeous. It's a shame not to run this game at high settings, although my computer did not like that. Let's just say that my computer did definitely not like that. Potato, as players say, potato PC. Although it gives me good frame rate at the moment. Well, I guess I'll just keep blowing up these buildings until the pirates crawl out. I mean, that's how it goes. Missions in this game are, let's say, much more fun to do than missions in Echoes, mainly because you have a story, you have standings. Speaking of standings, I have to be careful not to get below 5. If I do that, I might be in some trouble, because I'm not going to be able to travel to Empire space without getting yeeted by sentry guns. So, warping to the mission here. I think this is the second one. Human cattle, 4 out of 5. I think I'll return to the previous mission, or perhaps I just accidentally deleted the clip here, but it will probably show up later on in the video. Yeah, there is still time left. So, still using the heavy assault missiles. I have the Scourge heavy missiles loaded in. They do kinetic damage. Again, you should use the missiles that will do most damage to your target. And I think these guys here have a hole on kinetic, but I can always double check that. Sometimes I'm just too lazy to change ammunition, and don't be lazy, always change ammo if you can do more damage. And again, a fairly cheap missile as well. Now here I have to destroy the jamming structures. There is two of them. I think when I destroy one of them, there we go. They have spawned in. Mercenary fighters, lovely. Okay, let's orbit. Target painters active. Now for these missions, if you fly the Belicose, for the low tier missions, you don't have to use the heavy assault missiles. Basically, use the light missile launchers. They will do more damage to the frigates. And oh, a Dramiel popped in. Lovely. Let's make that thing the primary target because I feel like that's a elite little ship. And since you see that my damage application on that little Dramiel is not the best. And this is the moment where I actually wish that I actually picked the light missile launchers, but you know, it's fine. I have drones, so I'll yeet the drones at the Dramiel. One attractive thing for heavy missile launchers, or overall the larger missiles, is the fact that they have longer range. Light missiles have about 32. With these missiles I can hit up to 44-60 kilometers depending on the modules that I use. With a script for the missiles I think I can hit 80 kilometers, but my targeting distance is 72. There is limited targeting distance in this game, so I can't just yeet at 100 and lock. Basically have to be within a certain range to lock on the target, which honestly further makes the Bellicose an excellent kite boat, and I love it for the long range aspect. Now there are missions where a brawler is preferred or recommended, because sometimes when you warp you don't have the option to warp at distance. Sometimes you will be forced to basically warp at 0 from the ships. So for some missions a brawler build is good, a brawler ship to be again more specific, because the Bellicose isn't exactly close range, it's more of a long range, medium range kite. So it is very good to have multiple ships, and very important to have multiple different builds for various scenarios. The Dramiel has been yeeted, thankfully, so for a second I was a little bit worried because I wasn't doing much damage, and for a second I thought the Dramiel is actually going to catch up with me, but you know, it's a tier 2 mission, so they are not really that dangerous. Famous last words. Famous last words. I can see it. Now, this ship, again, it is fairly cheap, and if it dies, I'll just laugh because it is just so cheap, and I don't really, I'm not really worried to lose ships right now, because all of these ships are basically made in mind to be lost. After all, this game is a little bit different from Eve Echoes, and in this game you will probably be losing a lot more ships, but that's fine. The ships here are also cheaper than the ships in the other game. When I start flying the more expensive ships, well, that's where I'll be a bit more careful. But so far, I don't really have to be that careful with a Belicose. You know, the good old golden rule, don't fly ships you can't afford to lose. And that rule's been, you know, out for about 20 years now. That's a very long time. And most players that play the game know that. Now, here I have to loot the box that contains the mission objective, but quickly I'll just yeet the other structure, because hopefully it might drop some more ships. I can kinda use that bounty. Also, you can get yeeted in high sec, you can get yeeted in low sec, you can get yeeted everywhere basically. Also, what's going to make this game a bit more exciting, I have a lot of plans for some hilarious action in high sec. I will do something that I used to do a long time ago, and I think I'll have a blast doing that. So there is a lot of things that I have planned. And now, back to the previous mission. Finally, the ships returned. Okay, Let me unlock all of these structures and let me go yeet the pirates. Well, technically not pirates, but Calderi Navy Scouts. This mission will hurt your standing with Calderi. And again, make sure that you don't go below -5 with the standing, because at -5 they will shoot to hit, and you don't want to get hit by gate guns. Although the gate guns in this game don't do as much damage, but you know, still, just, you know, make sure that you have a good standing with everyone if possible. Don't go below -5. I know I have -6 with angels. The angels don't like me in this game at all. -6.94, I believe that's my current standing with them, because I used to kill them a lot. As for Calderi, I have -2.54 or something along those lines, so we'll probably have to go to Calderi Space or to find a Calderi agent to do missions to repair the standing with them. Although I think very soon I'll just actually, there is a lot of things that I want to do, and I have to make a good plan. After all, you know, EVE is known as spreadsheets online. You know, I think they have literally integrated a spreadsheet a spreadsheet program into the game. And I find that quite hilarious. But yeah, this game has a lot of very unique aspects to it that no other game, no online game in existence has. Well, let's say 4 ships left. It will be done very quickly. Now I'm already thinking for the next fit that I will do, or for the next ship. I plan to do a lot of PvE. At one point I'll also start doing PvP, or you know, the random unexpected PvP occasion when someone jumps in your anomaly in lowsec or in a belt. That will happen a lot, and honestly I'm very excited for that. It will feel like the good old days in Evecos, where we had no scanners and you had to go from anomaly to anomaly. In this game that feel never left. It's the same as I remember, and it makes me very excited to go do PvP in this game. Although there are things that I have to do before I start yeeting like that. Mainly skills ships. I have to have a PvE ship. I also have to have a specific PvP ship, multiple PvP ships, and basically I must not use the PvE ship in PvP, because if it dies I have to have a ship that can bring back the ISK. So that's some of the things that I will have to do. But overall, I'm very glad to be back in this game. Actually, let me show you the standings. -1.52 is with Calderi. Oh, okay, so it's not -2 yet. That's good to know. That is very good to know. And I'll quickly loot up the wreck, and I will dock. Well then, that was one of the... Well, it's not the first EVE Online video that I ever did. I think I was doing EVE Online videos before Echoes was released like 3 years ago, but I'm finally back in this game. I'm really enjoying it so far. A very pleasant experience, and I'm playing both Echoes and Online side by side, so it's a very interesting experience. Both games are actually at the moment very fun for me. We enjoy both of them. Me and my friend enjoy both of them at the same time. It's kind of funny when we have a target in Echoes, but we are doing a mission or anomaly in Online, so we have to multitask, which sometimes, you know, can get a little bit messy, but you know, all that is just part of the experience with the game. So with that being said, hope that you enjoyed, and well, I'll call this Bellicose the Ghetto Bellicose, because the build is kind of hilarious when I think about it. It is basically all modules are from loot, and well, it works so far. Alright, well, with that being said, I love you all. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe, and with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you in both games.